Hey guys, what's going on, dudes? It's David here. We are back with another video. Now, in this video, guys, I just want to discuss something real quick. Now, when it comes to the sport of Formula One, there are some great drivers that have been in the history of Formula One. We've had Michael Schumacher, 7-time world champion. We've had Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion. We've had Sebastian Vettel, 4-time world champion. We have the current champion right now, Max Verstappen, even though it's been found out that Red Bull did cheat to get the title last year. So I'm not even going to go into that. That's a whole nother video. What I wanted to discuss for today is Fernando Alonso. And how I just want to say this, no matter what anyone says, if it wasn't for Fernando Alonso's age, he would be in the top ride right now. If it wasn't for Fernando Alonso being very old, he would be in a very top ride right now. Fernando Alonso, no matter what anybody says, is the greatest F1 driver of all time. No matter if he doesn't have the wins, no matter if he doesn't have the championships. Because you put this man in any car, and he will drag that car up to where it shouldn't be. Let's take a look. Let's talk about what happened last week in the USA Grand Prix. Fernando Alonso had a penalty, was starting towards the back, drove his way up to about 10th or 9th position, then got involved in the incident with Lance Stroll, and his car went almost up in the air. He did a wheelie down the straight and hit the wall. And yes, his car was probably unsafe and he should not have continued, but the Formula One and the FIA allowed him to. And this man went back down to like about 19th and 20th, and he drove his way up, and thanks to good strategy, Fernando Alonso finished P7 in the USA Grand Prix. A day later, it was taken away because I think it was Haas that lodged an appeal saying Fernando Alonso's car wasn't safe. And at the time, the FIA took Fernando Alonso's P7 away. I just wanted to get onto that P7. This man, Fernando Alonso, started in the back, drove his way up to P7, P8, got involved in the incident with Lance Stroll that could have taken him out of the race. And there's been many times this season where Fernando Alonso has been on track to have a very good top 5, top 6 finish, and his car has been unreliable. This time, he got involved with an incident with his future teammate Lance Stroll. And I just want to say this, that's Lance Stroll's fault. I've seen the incident, that's Lance Stroll's fault. But this is how you can tell Fernando Alonso is such a great driver. To go from the back of the pack to 7th place is tough to do once because the cars are so close and they're going to be battling and they're going to be defending all over the place. But to do it twice and to have car damage, he was doing, I think, about a good 25% of the last part of the race with only one mirror. So he could only look in his left side mirror to see if a car was coming on his left. And yet, he still managed to pick his way back up, back from the pack, not once, but twice, and finish P7. It got taken away, but it got announced earlier today or yesterday, when you guys are seeing this or when I'm recording this. It got announced earlier today that he got his P7 back. This is the type of thing that makes Fernando Alonso such a great driver. And this is the reason why I think he can still perform to the best of his variability. Let's say if Fernando Alonso wasn't consistently battling for points right now, I would say Fernando Alonso would have been retired by now. But due down to Alpine's strategy and the way things have been going this season, it's not Fernando Alonso's fault. It's really his team, because his team is putting Esteban Ocon ahead of him. Last year, Esteban Ocon's only win was thanks to Fernando Alonso. And I gotta be honest with that. Fernando Alonso put on such a great performance defending Lewis Hamilton from getting past him and going to chase down Esteban Ocon. If Fernando Alonso had just let Lewis Hamilton pass, Lewis Hamilton would have won the Grand Prix easily. But no, Fernando Alonso put on a great showcase defending Lewis Hamilton, got the praise for it, but what did he get in return? He didn't get a win. And I would love to see Fernando Alonso win another race. He's only won 32 races and he only has 2 championships. And his last win came in 2012. And you can see the amount of teamwork that he has done for his other teammate. Meanwhile, the team is putting his teammate ahead of him. I don't agree with that. I feel like if it comes down to whoever has the best advantage to getting points, you put the strategy in their hands. Or you put the best strategy towards him. And a lot of these times throughout this year, it's been Fernando Alonso that's had the best opportunity for points. But yet the team sacrifices his strategy to make sure Esteban Ocon finishes in points. Esteban Ocon, if I believe right now, is ahead of Fernando Alonso in the standings. That is due down to the team, and that is due down to retirements. And that is Alpine's the only one that supplies their own team. Alpine have Renault engines because no other team has Renault engines. So they should be one of the best teams in terms of engine, reliability. But yet, consistently, even when Daniel Ricciardo was there, they were not consistently reliable. They were having reliability issues, and that still has the same thing. And the only reason Fernando Alonso actually left Alpine this year is because they were trying to put the focus on, they thought Fernando Alonso was going to retire this year. I knew Fernando Alonso was not going to retire because Fernando Alonso is still having fun out there. And if you're still having fun and you're still compelling, having great battles, getting consistent points, finishes, you're going to want to keep going until it's his time to say, not the team's, his. And that's why he decided to leave Alpine and go to Aston Martin to replace a former world champion in Sebastian Vettel. And a lot of people think that Fernando Alonso is going to be doing bad when it comes to him being at Aston Martin. Did you realize that Aston Martin was about in the same position as Alpine when Alonso joined? And look at where Alpine is right now. Alpine's battling for fourth in constructors. I'm pretty sure there's a good chance they can get the constructors due down to Fernando Alonso. Because let's say Fernando Alonso didn't race for Alpine this year, and let's say they promoted Oscar Piastri. Piastri wouldn't be getting the amount of points Fernando Alonso is. If you want to have a shot at finishing in the top 4 in the championship, you need to have a very great driver. Let's take a look at all the teams in the top 4. Mercedes, they have Lewis Hamilton. Red Bull, they have Max Verstappen. Ferrari, they have Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. McLaren, they have Lando Norris. Alpine, Esteban Ocon. Esteban Ocon's nowhere near the level of Fernando Alonso, and I just got to be honest with that. So, looking at the amount of things that Fernando Alonso has done in his whole career, the teams that he has brought up, when he was in the McLaren Honda, he was bringing that team into the points. The McLaren Honda sucked, and he was bringing that team into the points. He retired, came back, and he brought Alpine up from where they were because Alpine was one of the backmarker teams, and now they're competing for top 4 thanks to Fernando Alonso. Not to Esteban Ocon. And Esteban Ocon is a very good driver, but he has to really thank Fernando Alonso for a lot of these things that have been happening. Because last year, I'll go back to last year again, Esteban Ocon does not get that win without the 32-time winner, 2-time world champion, Fernando Alonso.